Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so there is a, draft resolution that is being drafted right now. That was redundant. To allow so for all committees to have public comment at the very beginning, anything on or off the agenda. Anytime a motion is going to be made to allow for public comment to that motion. And then at the end of the meeting, for anything else that was discussed. And so that is currently what the county commission has asked staff to draft. That is being drafted. It will go to the county commission and it will be voted on and put into the advisory board guidelines at that time for public comment. That has not been voted on just yet, so we don't have that guideline this moment, but that is the direction that has been given to staff for all advisory committee so that it's fair across the board. So one committee doesn't do it this way, one committee does it that way to make public comment more engagement. So just wanted to share that.
Yeah, so, and that being said, there's no reason why we haven't received guidelines yet. But there's no reason why that we can't discuss this as a committee now, and maybe implement something for today, that is in kind of line with this thought. And we could do it as a temporary just for this meeting, until we get these guidelines to kind of try things out. And whatnot. It's not something that as a committee we have to do today, but a big part of our mandate is community engagement. And if this is something that gives the public more opportunity to speak and more things for us to hear to respond to, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. So I was really hoping to get some discussion on thoughts on this. Yes, ma'am.
I serve on 3 county commission boards at the moment. I've served on one before. Every single one, well, actually, no, the others don't have public comment. They're more, well, kind of like quasi judicial decisions and things like that. And it follows what the county commission does with their public comment. We don't have beginning and end, but our meetings aren't 5 hours long. Where the public can't sit, they come at the beginning or come at the end. We have an hour and a half meeting at most. We do the beginning after every motion. We have a lot of informational items that don't go through motion with public comment. The chair always asks for public comment when we have a motion. That's set. I know for certain I have brought up things that have been questioned by members of the public during that conversation to get an answer to that question. I don't think this board has a problem with public comment. I don't have a problem adding more, but I want to quickly say that this board is not in public comment. It's not an issue. It follows the other boards that I've either been on or have gone to attend as a citizen. I also think that a lot of the things that we hear are outside our purview. And sometimes I was wondering about this board when it was created, and I'm gonna be quite frank. It sometimes feels like the county commission is like, oh, you've got a problem with, go talk to the AWAC committee. And kind of dump public comments on that and things that we have nothing to do with. And frankly, some of the more legal things, I don't think should be talked about at all. I mean, members of the public have that right to do that, but we're just not gonna respond to them. So I understand there might be frustration with the public. I think they've got to understand what we can comment on and what we can't. As far as the location of the, or more questions about certain things, we have discussed that stuff. Not so much in the fine detail, but in the outcome that we want to see for pets. And so it may frustrate members of the public that we're not doing things that they want to do, but I don't see a problem with this board operating, especially since we've formalized the public comment process. So I have a lot of experience with boards going to county commission meetings, and it's just modeled after the Board of County Commission. And so I don't see a problem with changing it, but I also don't see that there's a deficiency right now.
Well, I can tell you that at the meeting, it's the first time I've been to a county meeting.
Oh, you did great, by the way. I watched.
And this was kind of, I think what some of the guidelines that may be coming down seem to be the model that was used yesterday. It seemed to flow really well with the public comments following motions. Like I said, right now, we don't have a mandate. If everyone else feels like that things are, we're fulfilling that, by all means, but, I just want to say that I did see it I did have an opportunity to see it in practice yesterday. What I think probably the guidelines that will come down, and I'm just guessing, but it seemed to work well. It's not an open debate, and that's what, for this committee to conduct business, it can't be an open debate format where it's back and forth. The most important thing is that, the outside of this committee, we do hear them and understand that we do hear what you're saying. And I agree completely. Hey, there are some things that we just cannot, that's outside of our purview, and we just cannot comment on, because, even though all of us have personal opinions, we're here to do committee business, and that is just to support Blanche County Animal Resources, and engage. But it's the engagement is not debate. We may debate it amongst ourselves, but we're not. We can't. Well, I would personally not want to go down the road of debating with the public. I think that's would be counterproductive. But those are my thoughts. So, is anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Always have an opinion. So I think it is our duty to hear from the public and to be a funnel for comment up the chain. There aren't very many venues really where the public can comment. I totally agree. I don't want to debate anybody, but if someone is just a member of the public and they want to transmit an opinion, this seems like an appropriate venue to do it. And we've collected all and push it forward. And I think that also would broaden our view. Like, we are very siloed with, we all know each other, we know what we do, but we're probably not fully aware of what else is going on in the community. And this is a way to do it. And that way, also maybe this committee could be focused more, have more opportunity to work on issues and like projects rather than just be informational items that could be an email.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, then we'll move on to the sheriff's office. Whatever we want to call this. So I'll turn that over to you.
The county commission voted to have the sheriff's department possibly take over enforcement duties for animal resources. That is a contract that is still in draft format. It has not been formally voted on. And the goal of that is to provide more safety tools to our officers in the field, as well as a different vein of enforcement, if you will, for animals in the community. This shelter will not be going under the sheriff. This is strictly in the enforcement positions only. And so, again, the county commission has not voted on the final contract language yet. That is going to the sheriff's office. And so, there's input from both sides on what that looks like. And so that has been going through the motions currently, but we do not have a set contract in place at this time. The goal, however, would be November 1st for animal enforcement to go there. So the difference would be that you would no longer call our shelter to dispatch an animal control officer. You would contact the sheriff's department to dispatch an officer. We would not have dispatchers anymore at our facility. And so, again, a lot of those kinks are still being worked out. We do not have a concrete agreement, but that is the vein and that is the direction that the commission has asked us to go in. And so that is what is currently limited. Any
And it,
questions?
and at this time, this committee has not been provided for any information regarding the contract negotiations.
Correct.
Or the whatever agreements may be in place, and has not been asked by the commission to provide feedback.
Correct.
On this, this item.
So would the dog still be housed with you guys and do you take care of the animal care for him?
Yeah, the shelter operations would not change, but the officers would.
So your officers would just join the sheriff's department?
Correct.
The sheriff.
Be they would not be sworn, not sworn officers.
Would they, what kind of training do they receive? Like, are they trained in animal handling and stuff like that?
It'll be our current fleet of officers going over there. So I do not have any idea because that will be the sheriff's internal operation, so I can't speak to that. But in the state of Florida, animal control officers do need to have their animal control certification as well as their euthanasia certification. So those certification would need to continue if any internal deputies applied for officer positions or something like that, they would have to be trained in that. But our officers then would also, they have to receive specific training in the systems that the sheriff's department uses, and they are subject to a full background check. All of the things officers have to go through to apply, even in a non-sworn position, they have to go through those same processes because of the security level that they're getting in the systems that the sheriff department uses. So they will see much more information prior to them going to an address, as an example, on the whole history of that address. And my officers know that there's frequent flyers. We have to call law enforcement out with us every time. So we already know a lot of these individuals because they're frequent flyers of ours. So they will just get additional history if law enforcement has been called for different reasons outside of animals to those same addresses.
So, I read the article in the paper about this, and one thing that in my mind is a continuity between sheriffs, because sheriffs are constitutional elected, they're elected by the public. And previous sheriffs, a few back, there have been issues with the county commission and the sheriff negotiating their budget, and the sheriff not taking on the priorities of the county commission, of course, because they're an independent trigger officer. So that's my one concern about maybe future sheriffs not seeing this as a priority, especially when there's budget cuts, the staff, low staff. That's my only concern with this. But I see the benefits, because I didn't realize your radio systems aren't the same as the sheriff's office. Yeah.
So yes and no. If our officers need help, they can flip their radios to a channel and get immediate.
Okay.
So how are they on the same law enforcement channel? No.
Mhm.
But they can still flip their radio to a channel and get immediate law enforcement help.
Okay.
They also still on their own radios, because when these radios were all bought, they were all bought through with the sheriffs under that bulk order. There's also an orange button on the radios that you cannot miss, and that is literally the oh my God button. Everybody is told to push that under any circumstances because it basically brings the entire county. So anything emergency. So but they do have the ability to get help should they need it right now from the radios. There was a concern previously because somehow a template got deleted, a radio template. I don't know what this all means. The radio guys know it very well, but there was a template that got deleted in like 2012, and I don't know why. That was way before me. So, but the template's back and it works. So.
Any further discussion? All right, moving on to.
Oh, I have a question.
Moving too fast.
Sorry, look, my brains, but, so. I know that the current animal control officers will, if this goes through, will move over. when there's a vacancy, will the animal control services be able to be the ones that recommend that person for hire based on the standards that you have right now for animal control officers, like what you look for, what kind of experience they have, what kind of training they've had, and what kind of continuing education that they would get to meet the standards. Would that all be the sheriff to have to do that
Correct,
without input from,
correct.
yeah. That's a big concern for me.
Would it be like the supervisor then? You guys have a supervisor that would like have offer input to the hiring process?
No. It will be under the sheriff's department and they will have a sergeant assigned to the Animal Services Bureau, which will be a new bureau that they're forming. Which will blend our current officers along with the ag deputies under one roof. So all things animal basically under the sheriff's department will happen in that division. And there will be a sergeant assigned.
With insight from you or the,
No.
No.
No. That is under the sheriff's purview. Once they move over, that is under the sheriff 100%. I will have no input as far as officers go.
Cause I know
I mean-
when I was helping out at Dignity Village and at the race marketplace with the animals. When the police officers came out there, when animals were involved, it was very difficult to tamp things down so that the animals weren't confiscated unnecessarily during altercations between the residents and things like that. So it was, that's my concern, you know, animal control officers you guys do a great job with that, but when the police officers got involved, they basically didn't want to be there. And they showed it in their lack of communication with the residents and what was going on with the animal. So that's.
I would wonder like what credentials the person doing the hiring or standard. As far as like,
That would be under the HR department for the sheriffs. They're they're completely independent of us.
Right.
So they have their own human resources department. They will set that criteria. They know that to be an animal control officer, you need this training and I'm sure they would follow that. Just like officers follow certain training that they have to take. So I'm not necessarily concerned about the training they receive because I know the sheriff department actually for all of our staff several years ago did a verbal jujitsu training, which was really successful. So it really how to de-escalate situations through communication. And so, that's definitely valuable training as well. And, we'll have to see. The commission has been some guidelines for reviewing to like check-ins basically to see how it's going through this. So that it's not just an all or nothing. The commissioners did vote to have basically that check-in period, I believe it's 6 months, to kind of find out how things are going and to check in. So the trainings are definitely different, right? Because when you're an officer, you are really focused on your law enforcement trainings. And when you're in animal welfare, you're very much focused on your animal welfare training. So they are different, but a lot of the calls for service can overlap. We know domestic violence and animal violence go hand in hand. So there are a lot of overlap calls. I mean, our officers are called out right now when the deputies arrest somebody. Our officers are called to pick up that animal. Or if somebody has committed suicide or just died, our officers are called out to pick up those animals. Unfortunately, I have one officer that seems to always get those calls and it never fails, but anyways, and so, those will not change. Those are the same types of calls they go out on currently.
So, I think I read a number in the article, but so is ACAR's budget just gonna be reduced by the cost of the service officers and that we need to
Correct.
share?
And they asked for additional funding, which was also approved by the commission to make that change happen.
That was a 4-1 vote.
And at ACAR, those field officers are strictly field officers, right? There's no other duties that they do at the shelter.
They will still, so that's kind of where part of this is comes into the agreement. They will still have duties they have to do when they bring an animal into the shelter, like make sure it has a blanket, some food, some water, make sure it's getting its vaccines. Because we may not see that animal till the next day, right? So intakes still have to be done for those animals. If there's an animal that is suffering, and humane euthanasia is the only way to end its suffering, we would still expect that. And then we will still contract with emergency vets, and the sheriff will contract with an emergency vet, whoever their veterinary partner is, to provide care after hours when a vet is not available to us. But our vet will still provide vet care to those animals that are brought in. But not obviously after hours. But that's no different than what we do today. If an officer in the field today, we get many calls for dogs hit by cars, an example at night. Those dogs get emergency treatment now. We just pay for that. We send them to those.
So it's a done deal, but the logistics aren't.
Correct. The contract has not been voted on by the commission. The goal is November 1st.
Any other discussion?
Will they have, in terms of like making a euthanasia decision on the spot, like what, are they gonna follow criteria? Are they?
Our hope is that they would
Partner with
they would
the
follow the
veterinarian.
training. Yeah, they would follow the training that they've already received for euthanasia. As they have to go through that course. For training, but it would be my hope that they would either take it to an emergency vet like we do now. And that is part of the agreement, is that like, don't let an animal suffer, right? So, as much as possible, if an animal is savable, let's stabilize it. If the animal can't be saved, euthanize it. So either way, the animal isn't suffering. It either gets immediate vet care or it's euthanized to end suffering, depending on what that call is. But we won't have any say in that because we're not there at night. So currently I get the calls at night from the officers and the vets so that we can discuss that treatment plan. I won't be doing that.
And currently there's like work in the field that is done to like try and find the home that it's in, spend a few minutes knocking on a couple of doors where the dog is found, or writing the paperwork up in the field. So if someone's looking for their last dog, right there, or even like working with some managed intake so that non-emergent calls get set up to wait with some support until there's a run available. That seems like an area that's going to have to be sorted out so that we don't just like get suddenly a huge increase in intake.
Agreed. That is going to be part of the agreement as well. That was a concern that the commissioners actually brought up in their discussions and said that we are not going to go backwards. We're not going to go backwards on the progress we've made, and we're not going to suddenly dump 1,000 animals at the shelter because everything was answered to. That is not the goal, and that is not the goal of the sheriff. They want to work with us in the capacity we're working in, and understanding that there may be times where it's a challenge because they're getting a call for XYZ. They don't necessarily know what's going on, but their goal is to work as closely with the shelter as possible to minimize any disruptions or conflict or, just tension, as much as possible. And so that is our hope and our goal. But the commission was very clear on not wanting to go backwards with, from the progress that we've made and the live release and that type of thing.
So you've mentioned like you have food on the trucks and like even like fix the fence, while you're out and things like that, which sounds, things that should continue.
I can't answer that because I don't know what their standards are gonna be. I can only answer what our standards are. But yeah, absolutely.
And it's likely that the current group, they're already doing this, they know the culture, so it's more of the turnover that
Correct,
will impact the culture.
right,
That was my piece.
right.
So I can talk about kitten shelters.
Almost.
So moving to, community concerns or reference, staff and shelter.
Yeah, so, a citizen asked that I address when the public has concerns over staff members, or conditions at the shelter. So I want to state this publicly, so it is on the record, that when there is a complaint about a particular staff member, it first goes through the regular chain of command that somebody would complain to whoever supervisor it is. If it was a complaint about me, it would go to my direct supervisor, Ms. Peoples. And so staff complaints go through the regular chain of command first, and they do go up the chain of command. Once they've gone up the chain, as soon as that complaint is made, then it becomes an HR issue. That is a personnel matter. That is not a public comment matter, so to speak. I mean, if people want to say, I don't like this person, there's nothing I can do about it. Believe me, there's many times I wish I could, but anyways, so, but then it becomes a personnel matter, and we have to protect the employees' rights as well as the staff rights that are, or community members' rights that are making it. But there is a lot of rights that need to be protected, and so the concern was we should hear back on these things, and it's like, no, we can't, because it is a personnel matter, and it's gonna stay a personnel matter. When there are concerns about things happening at the shelter that people have actually witnessed with their own eyes, not heard or read about through someone that doesn't like something, it can be anything, because that happens very often with social media, as we all know. But if somebody is actually seeing something with their own eyes, then those complaints should definitely be brought to my attention as much as possible, as soon as possible. And if people are not comfortable with that, that's fine. I mean, the commission has received emails that I didn't know about, et cetera, and they're very quick to let me know what the complaint is or what the email is. But our goal is to definitely address those issues as much as possible. I'm not there 24/7, so I don't always see or hear something. And if somebody was embarrassed or didn't want to say something, I may not be the one that hears it. But we do have supervisors staffing the shelter 7 days a week. We have a supervisor on duty 7 days a week. So at some point, one of those supervisors should hear what the complaint is. And we certainly want to address that. So people can reach out via email. They can reach out by phone. They can reach out by fax. Whatever they're comfortable with, they can certainly send us those concerns, and we will address those concerns. And then I'm happy to bring back to the AWAC committee what this concern was, what the complaint was. I can certainly address that, but I can't address personnel matters. But if there's an animal welfare complaint or something like that, I can certainly bring that to this committee.
Do you have like a designated way for someone to make a grievance of an employee?
No, we don't.
It's just a reach out.
Correct. Because again, it could be, there's 100 different ways of what that grievance could be. Was it
Right.
that the person wasn't kind to somebody at the front versus, they chased somebody out of here, with their hands in the air, you know what I'm saying? So there's different levels of complaints, and then so that's why there's no one size fits all.
Right. We allow like a digital or so that just everything gets looked through and it's just.
Yeah. So
they just reach
same,
out.
the digital complaint in this case would be via email. Yes.
Can that be your email or is there a generic?
We have hundreds of emails. Anybody can call it, do get ACAS at Alachua County, the J Johnson at alachuacounty.us. I mean, every supervisor we have a lot. There's dispatcher at ACAS, at alachuacounty.us. So any which way that people want to complain. But I also want to stress that sometimes we're getting complaints by somebody that didn't actually witness it. They just heard something. That is difficult because I can't, and they really believe it. I understand, but I can't address what isn't there. And so I think that becomes challenging sometimes, and it's not because you know, we didn't receive a complaint, we did. But it doesn't mean that it's necessarily something we can physically do something about. If we don't find that same evidence, so, but claims are investigated, believe me, my direct supervisor spent plenty of time looking into complaints. Probably for the first 3 months that we were under her, so she spent quite a bit of time looking into complaints in the so they do get addressed. The commissioners certainly address comments when they get it from the public. And you know, it's not the only emails the commissioners get. So I'm sure you're shocked, but it's not just animal stuff, but anyways, and so the commissioners do try to be proactive, as well as the county attorney's office or any office that needs to be involved with what we can call them.
So we're talking about complaints, but your department, at least with the county, outside of charter officers are the most public facing department. And so there are gonna be complaints because of
Right,
that. So I
right.
just want to put it in perspective that it's just not a lot of stuff going on at ACAR. It's just you have the most public facing
Fair.
department within.
Which is true.
Yeah.
Yes. Very true.
After hours calls for resources.
Cause for sure. So a citizen brought up that they don't feel that law enforcement is responding to the needs of the public after hours. When they call the Combined Communication Center. I can tell you that we do get notified. I'm happy to show everybody. I've given examples to the citizen, but we do get notified by a horrific sound when those calls come in. That's so the officers can make sure they wake up, but it is god awful blaring sirens that they have on their phone for those 911 calls. An officer is dispatched or, you know, they immediately call the complainant back and respond to that call accordingly. In this case, a citizen reached out to the Combined Communication Center. This was over almost a year ago. They reached out to the Combined Communication Center to report the possibility of an injured or sick stray animal. A law enforcement person told this person on the phone, according to the resident, that they do people, not animals. We never got a call for service for that. And so I have explained several times, Alachua County Animal Resources, I have absolutely no jurisdiction over Alachua County Sheriff or Haynesville Police Department, High Springs Police Department, any of the police departments. We have no jurisdiction over them. They are constitutional officers. They are separate from the county, at least the other jurisdictions. And so I cannot police what they do. I can only ask people to call 911 at night if there is a need, but I cannot force someone under the police department umbrella to then call us. I absolutely can't. And I can't give an answer on to why a call was not put in or made. I don't know because we weren't notified. So sometimes there's unfortunately things that we can't answer. And I don't know what the circumstances were in this case because we never got the call. So I don't know if they determined that it was not an emergency on their end, so they didn't put a call. I don't know, but I don't have any jurisdiction over them. I know that we have a really good relationship with, you know, all of the police departments. Our officer on-call schedule is set out to all of the police departments that have asked for it. Even UFPD gets our on-call officer schedule. So there is always an officer assigned 7 days a week at night after hours to take care of public calls. So, but I can't answer specifically why a call was or was not answered. Now, if it was my officer currently, like if it's an officer currently that didn't respond to a call, yes, I can absolutely address that. Because then that's on my side, but I can't make judgment calls for other agencies. If that makes sense. So I just wanted to share that so that it was publicly addressed that I cannot, you know, that's not in my purview.
Any discussion?
I think that just kind of weighs into probably many of our concerns with transitioning over to law enforcement taking it on, because what is sick, what is unhealthy, what is injured, what, you know, So I think everyone's just concerned about the. I'm concerned about the medical aspects of things and what kind of training is involved in that. I'm completely ignorant of what the animal control training is.
Got
You know, it could be extremely thorough, but just as a layperson,
Got it.
especially if that's something where someone called law enforcement and they deemed it not, you know, what is the criteria for that? How do they determine that where an animal
So
control?
that came through the dispatcher, so I don't know.
Right.
Didn't go to an officer, it went to the dispatcher. But I will tell you that my officers, my current fleet of officers, with the exception of 2 fairly new officers. My officers have been through, the NACA trainings and the FAPA, Florida Animal Protection. Association trainings for both, animal control officer 1, 2, and 3. 4 of my officers are also trained in chemical immobilization. All of them were trained in euthanasia. And so that training has already taken place. So I'm confident that my officers, can, you know, safely handle those calls and make those judgment calls. You know, they've been at it. And so they're experienced officers, so they're not new.
Yeah.
What that looks like in the future with new officers getting hired, I don't know. And unfortunately, I don't get to answer that. But I know my dictate to my staff, to my officers, is that there is always a call back to at least the complainant, that there is at least an acknowledgement of that call every single time. Even if it's not a call, we would physically go out. And there have been times where we would not send an officer to respond to that call because it's not truly an emergency that needs to happen at 2 a.m.
Right.
But anything sick, injured, aggressive, that's gonna happen if it's really deemed that, right?
Yeah, I
So-
mean, we get just
You know,
daily.
daily,
This is, you know,
yes.
but
So
we
tend to get-
know what's emergent and
Right.
what is, you know.
So we even get
Yesterday,
calls
this
like,
cat is not, you know, it's a male cat not peeing.
right,
That's an emergency. You know,
Right.
if you don't necessarily know that.
Right.
You know.
we tend to get calls, late at night, around, let's just say 2:10, 2:15. On weekends, and so many times it's like I saw a dog run across the street into the woods. That's not a call I'm gonna call it on officer to come and respond to. But we get quite a few of those, or, you know, I can only imagine the poor sheriffs. I mean, they get I want fries with that, you know, kind of thing. So anyways, about the same time on weekends, but so I can't answer that part, but I do appreciate everybody's concerns, and there are concerns anytime there's a big transition like this. And, you know, I think that was why the commission insisted, apologize, on guardrails and some overview and some check-ins, to see how this was going. So we're trying something different, and we'll see how that goes. But, you know, I certainly encourage anyone to be open and, you know, also likewise, if something is not working, to let the commissioners know, or, you know, let me know or whatever. And, you know, I will be certain to communicate with my boss, you know, my boss is, and, you know, so, you know, we're gonna have to see how this goes, and it is a big transition.
Well, I would put
Same
it,
concerns you will.
I would put it out there too, that like partnership and these organizations working together, like
Agreed.
I would be so happy to go with like my traps and my combs and my tools and say like, this is the equipment, this is how you don't get bit. This is, you know, I would be so happy to do that, just as you know, the feral cat person.
Right.
But I'm sure that many of these other organizations would also be so happy to provide anything
Right.
to help with that. Cause I agree, like the protection that they have being a law enforcement officer and dealing with those calls is I really see a benefit to that. I think that just from I'm looking at, I deal with medical stuff all day long, and it takes my staff months, years to figure out, you know, what even counts as, emergent, non-emergent,
Right.
temperaments, all that kind of stuff. And I
Right.
think that we have a really robust community here that can partner and make that something that works.
Maybe we can have some sort of community meeting, so like all of us who already partner with you guys. And that's okay.
Yeah, and like right now, you call me if there's like a feral cat thing, we wanna offer the same thing, like.
Right.
If it's a, broken leg.
If you think
like,
my officers are
call,
losing your
know.
number. Please, Melissa, I don't think there's any fear with that whatsoever. I mean, like, literally, they show me and they're like, I'm calling Melissa, and I'm like, okay. So I don't think you have to worry about that yet. I think my officers are very much have you on speed dial. It just says, so.
I think with the experience in this room and, and the feelers out in the community, I think this committee will probably be a very valuable resource to the county as to, whether or not things are working or not working. So hopefully this committee is able to provide some feedback and whatnot, so as things go forward.
Mr. Chair, I'd really like the county commission and county staff to hear what we've been talking about. So do we want to formalize something, or do we just want like the minutes sent over?
Well, I mean, everything is, they should, it's all public record. And I'm sure it's reviewed.
The county commission does receive copies of our minutes,
Okay,
and our minutes are being taken, and Commissioner Wheeler is here, so I'm sure that will get shared with the county commissioners.
so maybe either take it out of the minutes, or when the minutes are shared, maybe please read,
Yes,
about that. Because the contract's still happening, so some of the stuff, the contract,
okay,
maybe.
yeah.
You got a little wrong for after hours calls and track that, but we're good with after hours calls. Any more discussions on that? Okay, moving to committee comments. I know Chelsea, you had something.
So my board of directors and myself and my leadership team are working on our strategic plan for the next 5 years, and so was trying to get some things put in place, and one of those is some committees that stem off of our board. So it will have like a board member and some of the leadership team and anybody else on the team that wants to be on it, really. So right now we're working on a community engagement committee. So it would be, and I'm trying to move a little bit away from animal people. So, but I am sharing it with you guys because you guys do know other people than animal people. But we want to get involved in, like in education and just resources that the community can use. And we partner with other organizations that work with humans. They also have pets. So we can just so I brought our little job description. I was going to pass them around if any of you are interested. Reach out to me. There's not actually contact information on here. I apologize. However, you can find our email addresses or some way to contact us. But if anybody is interested, if you guys want to hand them out or share the information, my staff member Joshua is very excited about this. He's leading the project, and I might run out of copies.
I saw it on Facebook or something.
Yeah, I think you got an email.
That's what it was, the email.
Joshua is very excited about it, so
Very
he was
nice.
just trying to spread the word.
Very
And,
nice.
didn't need to cause any.
I thought it was impressed.
Yeah, so he's very excited about, getting some committees together, getting some people together. Maybe we'll do it fine.
Well, I mean, sure.
So if anybody's interested, let me know.
Any response?
Do you want, non-animal?
Animal people can be too, but like, I'm trying to get out there,
Like community leaders?
community leaders, like we want to do more education. We want to go into the schools and do a little bit more education and just, just get out there. We have our building almost done. We have our leadership team and our staff really, solid right now. So we're trying to work on all these little things to just get out there a little bit more. Yes, anybody's welcome to, contact us for more information, attend a meeting, see if it's what you guys want to be involved in, but I am trying to expand past our animal
I would reach out to Kate, how did she?
Yeah.
And change her.
Yeah, we already
Great.
on that.
Dr. Lee, I know you've been waiting.
And so,
Floor is yours, ma'am.
what is, maybe next time we can put on the agenda to have Melissa talk about what the kitten shelter diversion program is doing and how all of the agencies can participate in that to help keep kittens out of our rescue and shelter system. It's really an impressive program. It's one that we're trying to kind of build a toolkit around, share nationally. I know it's a big lift too, but it's much better to have these kittens stay with the people that find them than to come into our system. And then the other one was just a follow-up, another project would be good to work on since we got the stats up on the website would be the Petzl implementation for post-adoption support. And they've been by to visit once, but we could maybe take next steps on that. It should be not too horrible an implementation, and it's, I think from what I hear is quite robust and people like it.
There has been some discussion, just so you're aware, part of why I'm pulling out a little bit. Pet Point is now gonna go away. Yes, so, they are getting ready to redo everything with a new platform, which is our shelter software. So I'm kind of trying to wait to see what this is, because it's my understanding they are going to have, they will finally be able to allow third-party APIs. But also Adopt a Pet sends out notifications. Pet Point currently sends out
Yeah, but they're awful.
notifications.
Like, no,
Yeah.
no offense, but they're awful
Yeah.
and not effective. Like you can't, you've probably never seen like a decrease in adoption returns that you can track back to whatever they get out of those two systems. This is so different. It is so next level.
Yeah, we don't, I mean, luckily, knock on wood, Sarah. Adoption returns are our smallest anything. It's like 1 month. We have very limited returns, but I also think that's because of all that energy that is put in on the front end of here's your vet visit, here's your training, here's who to call, here's, all those resources we provide for every adoption, I think is kind of part of it, but I know what you're saying. I'm happy to look back into it and see if that's something we can.
They'll make it easy. And they're working with Pet Point too on, it's not even
On the
Pet Point
API.
conglomerate now. but
Right,
it's,
right. Now it's 24,
washing
whatever,
machines.
else or something.
Well, yeah, it's some
Yeah.
German company that has
Yeah,
all kinds of industries in it.
yeah. It's not even the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not Deb's Chameleon anymore, is it, Dr. Len?
Still lots of chameleon out
I
there.
know.
Any more discussion?
Oh, yeah, if we could do that next time, because then I can actually, I can bring some stats and.
Oh, the kitten diversion?
Yeah,
She came out and
Yeah.
trained all of our staff, plus brought us the kitten diversion stuff.
Also, next time on the agenda, I can finally share 2024 statewide shelter data.
Oh, cool.
It's taken us a long time to pull that out, but the highlight, I just got it, and the highlights are, in contrast to the rest of the country, Florida shelter intake is a little higher, but our adoptions are also a little higher, which
Good,
in the rest of the country, adoptions are down a bit.
right.
And our live release rate, I think, went up statewide at 1% or something, so we're actually leading a little bit. in
Good.
that regard.
Definitely.
But I'll bring that.
Alachua County is the best in Florida from the data, thank
Oh,
God.
of course.
So,
I will.
yeah.
I will.
Anyone else have anything?
If you're still on, I was.
Should we say, have you announced the received accomplishment with the 100,000?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we did our 100,000th cat.
Yay!
Very exciting. Yeah,
Ooh.
that was a big one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, when I started in 2017, we did clinics once a month. And so and in 2016, we had done the 50,000th cat after starting in 1998. So the exponential growth, I don't even know who I was back then. I thought I was busy back
I
then.
know.
Congratulations, that's exciting. Yay.
And a lot of I think the numbers at the county shelter, but you're bringing, euthanasia night. So, or library, they show their face.
Yes, but it's not the other
The
way.
other way around, it's because of KSD and this other work that
Oh, gosh.
OC is doing.
Oh, without them in the community, I spoke to a shelter today that has that struggle. They don't have any, they have a new clinic that's just getting up and going. But it's like 22,000 cats a year that the shelter is intaking. That's insane. So I can't imagine not having catnip as that.
And
That was
for-
Dr. Levy's selling, one of Dr. Levy's selling points to me when I interviewed in the position, wasn't it? So. So.
Statewide, shelters are really overrun right now with
Right.
kittens, and there's lots of leukopenia outbreaks
Yeah.
and big die-offs, and we just haven't had that in years.
No.
It's unique.
It is unique. It is literally, I believe attributable 100% to catnip.
I never get family.
You brought it in with some.
Not, yeah, we have this year. This has been bad for family. But we haven't, like, the
It
kittens.
doesn't spread, I mean,
Yeah.
because we're not overcrowded with cats and we have intake protocols, so you will get kittens in, like, with puppies, but it doesn't like cause an outbreak and.
Yeah.
Like it does elsewhere.
Okay, sounds like we've done it.
I would bring something
Please.
about what Chelsea brought up. I was just waiting to get confirmation of this because when you were talking about trying to get other professionals, the local bar does a luncheon, I think every other Friday,
Okay.
and I'm very close friends with the president, and animals are close to her heart, and I said, because we don't always discuss legal topics.
Yeah.
I said, is something that we could possibly do, and she said yes.
Okay.
So I can get you a connection, lots of judges and lawyers there, so you could kind of reach out.
Right, my email address now?
Don't you talk? Oh,
I'll just wait till.
Okay, and that extends to others as well too, if we want to have a few people, I just thought.
can we clarify that it's the local bar association, not the local bar?
Yeah. Judicial circuit, bar association, so
Okay.
it's the whole circuit, so it encompasses.
Just wanted to
Alachua.
clarify when you said that.
Yeah, but
We
sorry.
get together once.
Alachua, Gilchrist, Levy, Bradford, Baker, and Union County, so that it's granted, the lunches are in Gainesville, so the majority of the lawyers and judges
Right.
there. But the judges come from many counties, so it's just kind of hitting a different audience, who I know a lot of them at almost,
A couple of us could come and talk about what we do and.
yeah, so I think,
We would love that.
but I was waiting to hear back from her before I got
Gotcha.
that. That was my.
I'll give you my email just after.
Well, then we'll move into our response to public comment. And I'm gonna go ahead and kick this one off and share my thoughts and then we'll go around the room. But there were two main things that stuck out to me, and that was this committee providing input to the county commission as far as decisions being made. I know shelter's been a big focus, here lately, the new shelter. And I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but this committee will take a look at anything that county commission hands down for us to look at and like for us to offer an opinion. We know that we have no, we've got no authority here to make a decision on what decisions are made there, but we are certainly happy to provide any information that they request in line with making decisions regarding that. That being said, same thing goes for our responsibility to support ACAR and anything that ACAR needs. I think and ask of this committee, I think there will be, I don't think this committee has any problem with expertise, from our different areas to further their mission. So if that information doesn't appear in any of our reports or any of our minutes, that go back to the commissions because they weren't asked and obviously were not required or needed for whatever decisions were made there. So we are here to support. We don't run the show. We're here to support. And unless there's a need that needs to be met and it's been brought to our attention, then just not sure how this committee. So that's my thoughts on that one. The other was the public comments, and we had a little discussion on that. And decided obviously not to make changes to the procedures that we have put in place on this meeting. But we do know that the county is currently working on guidelines that will go out to all committees. It's not anybody's trying to pick on this committee. It's going out to all the committees, guidelines, so that it's more across the board, universal, that this is what we feel like is the best way. And once those guidelines are received, I don't think this committee will have any issue with adopting, those guidelines and moving forward, because like I said, we're all here to serve. There's nobody in here getting paid, at least for being on this committee. And that's my thoughts, and I'd like to just kind of go around the room. If I miss something else, those are the two things that stuck out to me. If anybody else has a thought that they would like to share, please, let's just go right around the room.
Will we have the guidelines by our next meeting?
I believe so.
Get to that next meeting, we'll get those. Any other response to?
Well, I guess I haven't read the description of committee for a while. It sounds like one view is that our job is to respond to requests from the county for information or help or whatever. I assumed also that our job was to bring things forward that this group of experts would spontaneously come up with that isn't necessarily directed from the county. And so that's where potentially a public commenter would make us go, that's something we should look into.
100%.
Direction.
100%.
Okay.
100%. And a lot of times that is accomplished by just the public comment being made, and it's in the minutes. All this is public record. All this is being recorded. All this is going to the county commission. So this is another opportunity for anyone to come in and share thoughts and share ideas that will be, is available for the county commissioners to review. So it's another opportunity here. All right. Our next meeting, I went ahead and jumped ahead and looked at the calendar, and it looked like November 19th, I think, was the date that would probably be,
Well, we pushed this one. We made this
did we
one
push
because
this
of
one?
vacation.
Well, I think last year,
Second Wednesday.
last year we did it on the 20th of November, which was the third Wednesday.
Usually the second Wednesday, Sarah. Or is it the third?
Normally the second.
Yeah,
That's what I
so then the 12th, so we had pushed last year then is what it was. So the 12th then would be, the regular deal. Does anyone currently conflict that they know of for November 12th? Oh, well then, if this room is available and, Sarah, would you be able to take care of that? Somebody take care of it. And so
It's gonna kill me if I keep doing this. So
So then we'll look for November 12th at 1:00, same place. Does that sound good? Everybody, here's the ring. So then, being no other discussion, I need a final motion. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.